Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics live Q&A on Tuesday night. It is currently the 9th of July. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BalesDT across the socials. Joining me will be fellow co-host, Fantasy Fanatic, is Tim Guest. Obviously, Guest will be with us shortly, but Jordox, who is our other Fantasy Fanatic, is here. Mate, how are you? We obviously didn't catch you Sunday. How was round 17 for you?
Yeah, one of the best I've ever had, to put it lightly. And it's so annoying when I miss the Sunday pods. It's always the week I do well when I want to talk about it, and then the week I do crap is when I'm on the pod. But no, I had a huge round, and yeah, I think you nailed it a few weeks ago. The difference between premiums, if you can get on the right side of a few of them in a row, you can have a whopper. So, yep, I'm back to where I was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, there we go, mate. I was like, someone was playing TV in the background. That was my phone because I'm running the stream through my phone to make sure we're going, everything goes along smoothly. So, yeah, Bales, get your phone to shut up. Yeah, done. But yeah, beautiful. We've got a special guest on as well. It's been a bit of a while since he's jumped on. We've got him. It is the host of the HatChat podcast. It is Jake, coach of Dunkley's Donuts. Mate, how are you? How's you've been flying the last few weeks, mate? How's everything going?
Thanks, Bales. Yeah, it's been nice for people to invite me on when I'm doing well for once. It's normally the opposite, and I have to have a bit of a woe is me moment, but we're going to reserve that for DC these days because, yeah, the boys are flying. It was a tough weekend purely in the reality. Was at Adelaide Oval to watch my boys get absolutely pummeled, but the positive of that was owning both Rosie and Butters and watching them go ham. So it was a bit of a catch-22, I suppose, but in terms of fantasy, it was a fantastic weekend, and as you alluded to pre-show, you got to be looking over your shoulder pretty closely, I think, mate.
Yeah. As soon as I saw you have Dunkley VC last week, I'm like, oh crap, that's an omen. Dunkley's Donuts captaining Dunkley on debut. I'm a bit nervous that you're going to be coming for my rank soon, so I need the boys need to step up this week. But it is a tough week for that to happen because we've got a fair bit going on. So we'll chat through the two main issues, and then we'll obviously get to a heap of your questions because I'm sure there's going to be plenty involving these two players. So the first one being the one that was confirmed yesterday is Max Gawn is out for 2 to 3 weeks with an ankle injury, which is no good, which means it is a must trade for everyone that's got him. I think he's well over 90% owned across the top 100,000, 10K, so highly owned. So, Jake, I think there's probably 5 options I think that coaches are looking at. You've got a Ryan Marshall, Tim English, obviously 2 former, obviously big premiums and been premiums in the past. You've also got Brodie Grundy, who's been pretty solid as well this year. And then you've got the X-Man, Tristan Cherry, who me and DC and plenty of others went out early in the year to a Jordan Sweet, which has probably killed a few people's seasons, mine included. But who do you like the most out of those 5 main options that in the ruck?
Well, you've given 4 there. I'm assuming you might have forgotten Nank Tank might have been the 5th option.
Yeah,
and if I'm honest, I think we have to slide in a 6th because Tom de Koning deserves the absolute mention. I think particularly with his run home. Now, they've all got some pros and cons. If I start at the bottom there, Tom de Koning now listed as a test this week. So anyone that kind of wanted to risk that, I'm sure they're getting a bit nervous seeing those bits and pieces come out and about. Tim English, pretty inconsistent. We saw Sam Darcy have the first couple of CBAs on the weekend, and with the doggies' form, I wouldn't be surprised to keep seeing Bevo try things. I mean, even if the doggies were in form, we probably expect that from Bevo, let's be real. The Romar concerns on the weekend, I wouldn't say were entirely alleviated. You probably feel better about it, but he still played a fair bit of time forward. So those guys all have the biggest flags for me. So then if I move across, I would say Tristan Cherry probably sits number 1, although maybe the highest owned. I think he probably is the R1 at this stage for mine, which leaves us with Grundy and Nank. And I think on current form and run home, Nank's your guy. Nank's the guy that I'm certainly looking at this week. It's a little bit unique, definitely the lowest ownership, and it's certainly a play that I like. I've liked Nank a lot in the past, to be perfectly honest, and he's just been a guy that perennially underrated, I'd say, but he's the guy I'm looking at this week, without a doubt. Probably the exception to that is if you're in a really good spot and you're looking to match, then you're probably looking at going English, Marshall, or Grundy for those reasons.
Oh, I was on mute then. Yeah, no, I was just having a drink of water. I was wondering why I was on mute. I was like, why can't I hear myself? Bloody hell, a bit of a shambles to start this one. I'm thrown off with a bad week and all this bloody news going around. But Jordox, mate, obviously we just Jake talking to those options there. Who do you like the most out of those 5? And apologies to Nank. He was the guy I was like, I've got to remember to say Nank in the pod. And of course I forgot. So, yeah. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's a good summation there from Jake there. So, looking at it earlier today, I sort of thought English was the one, just in terms of the fixture. And, you know, he's kind of had a so-so year. I feel like he's got a little bit more to give, English. So he's probably the one. The other thing I was going to suggest, and, you know, it's going to be hard to pull it off, but I have a very, I don't know what it is. It's just a feeling that the 2 to 3 weeks for Gawn won't happen. I can see it being 1 week. I don't know what it is. It was something he said today. I read something, just a quote about how, you know, whenever there's a date, he tries to get back earlier. What does that mean? Probably nothing. I'm sure every player's like that. I don't know. I just had it in my head that I reckon it could be a 1 weeker. How could I get away with holding him? Because I was looking at Luke Jackson anyway for like Sexton or something. Is there a way I could loop on a Friday night, have a look at someone, and if it works, could I keep Gawn? So that was before the Heeney news. So I've pivoted since then. But yeah, I don't know. I just have a feeling it won't be 2 to 3 weeks with Gawn is the point I guess I'm making.
Yeah. I think that Nank's obviously the pod option that I do like. I think Chips and Cherries run's also quite nice for the remainder of the year as well. Doesn't have too many bad matchups, and he's got such a high floor just because of his tackle numbers. And when he's got these easier matchups, he seems to dominate the hit-outs as well. So Cherry's the one that, as a non-owner for me, I'm looking at. It's probably between him and English are the two main ones, and obviously Nank being the pod one. I think Grundy has been good, but his last couple of matchups have been under 100, and his big tons have come up against easy opposition, and he's got a bit of a mixed bag on the run home. So I've probably got him lower down list, and I would love to recommend Marshall. He's got the ceiling, but as you said, Jake, bit of Tom Ford on the weekend, and still, like, you would have thought with 2 goals on the weekend, maybe that's a 120 with 2 goals, but it was only the sort of the 106. So for me, it's probably, I think it's Cherry, English, and Nank are my favourites. We do have our 4th member on the chat tonight. It is fellow Fantasy Fanatics. Tim, mate, how are you?
Gentlemen, how are we all?
Yeah, good, mate.
That was a late one. I love that one. Mate, bit of drama, mate. Well, not for you. Well, Gawn, you're not an owner of, so you could sort of sit here.
Come on, baby!
So, mate, how's everything looking at? How's everything looking at the gerbils?
Coming back to me, mate. The gerbils are flying. No, we're not. No, look, I mean, obviously, well, Heeney's out, right? So I got to deal with that. Sexton, going to have to deal with that. And then I still got Clayton Oliver. So they're the things I got to deal with. So, it's not all clear skies, but certainly not having to worry about Gawn makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in that saying that, we will move. Actually, no, quickly ask you, Tim. So for those owners that do have Gawn, obviously we mentioned before, there's probably 5 or 6 options that you've got there. So you've got obviously Cherry, Marshall, Grundy, English. You've also got Nank as the pod, and then Jake was also saying as well, a bit of a guy that could be a bit of a unique as well. That's been very good of late is Tom de Koning, even though he's listed as a test for this week. Who do you like out of those sort of 5 or 6 options? Who would you be looking at?
Look, disclaimer, first, haven't done a lot of research, right? So, because it's not a real issue for me. But at the same time, probably the one that stands out to me is English, just because from what I've seen of his run, it looks pretty good. I don't like Gawn. Cherry, look, I'm just not sure how much more we can kind of expect out of him. But obviously, he's just killing it at the moment. But, Romar, there's just a few red flags there, I think, obviously with Roll and Dum-de-Dum and, that kind of stuff. So, I'd be probably leaning towards the Ruck Llama, despite the fact that, he hasn't been super convincing.
Yeah. No.
We're sport for choice, though, really. Can you think of another year where there's this many sort of guys that are, basically top 3, top 2 put their hands up for the number 1 spot.
Yeah.
Well,
Really
I think the interesting part about it, like as a fantasy coach, I love it in the sense that I love it's going to divide the public and we're going to see a lot of different strategies. I would say
sure.
other years has actually been better because there's probably a clear 2 or 3. So if you've missed one, you're jumping on the other and it's an easy trade. So the spoiled for choice is probably a lot harder for many people. But as someone who loves the game and loves the traditional
That's why it's good.
side of that, it makes it a hell of a lot more fun to see what paths people take this week.
It's a really good point. And, I think, would it be fair to say that we have completed teams far earlier than we ever have before? And it seems like, maybe this is a great thing because maybe now, previously, if you kind of got ahead, you weren't really able to be hunted down. Maybe now it's going to give people a chance to come back. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the remainder of the season.
Yeah, no, very well said there. We do have a super chat here from Tim Ashworth, so thanks, mate. I'll go to Jake for the question here. So he's going Fraser down to Manor and Sexton to Rosie and keeping a Tom Powell. Would you be ticking those off? Does Sexton go before Tom Powell for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Based on what we saw on the weekend, a little bit of a nicer roll, a little bit of an uptick in scoring. Sexton, I think, is regressing further, whereas Powell's had a little bit of a nice one. In saying that, if Wardlaw's named, and I think someone else I guess Zach Fisher we expect to come back, but if Wardlaw and Fisher are named, he gets a little bit more dicey for you there. But I still think based on last week, I'd probably feel safe holding Powell, and I like both those trades. I'm a big Manor fan, especially if you can use him to loop holding Heeney, and then you get 2 cracks at that F6 or whatever spot you want to call it, because Manor is one of the few players that play on the Friday night. So, yeah, definitely tick that off. Minus 32 break even. There's not too much negative around bringing him in.
Yeah, I like it as well. And we'll move to the other sort of main issue of the week, which was the Isaac Heeney suspension, which obviously the tribunal was just finished up and the week has been upheld. So that is going to be a bit of an issue for pretty much everyone because he's, again, 95+% owned across the top 10K teams. As someone that owns Toby Green, I thought Toby Green's punch on Kemp was more intentional than what Heeney's one is. But nevertheless, it's a suspension.
What happened there? Did he get a fine?
You got a fine, thankfully. If he got suspended, that would have been shambles for me. But but there is obviously every chance that Sydney could go further and appeal it more at the AFL. But at the end of the day, I think that this is it, and he's out for a week. So what are we doing, Jordox? Is it 1 week? Is it a hold for you? Is it a trade? Want to try and be aggressive as knowing a few people might hold? Where are you sort of leaning?
Look, if it was the midfield or the back line or the ruck line, sure, be aggressive, trade him out. But I don't know who you're going to get that's, almost guaranteed to outscore a Manor or a, what's the other Geelong boy's name?
You got Dowling, you got Joe Richards, you've got...
the other cat, mid defender. It's just played 2 games.
Humphries.
Yeah. So obviously if you move Heeney to the midfield to cover him. But anyway, you got those 2 guys. I'm going to be trying with a Harvey Harrison. But yeah, I just don't know who you're going to go to. And then next week, you don't have Heeney and everyone else does. So when these things are so finite and it's 1 week, that's it. Even if it was a concussion, that's 1 week. But could there be lingering effects? There's all those different things. But a 1 week suspension for a guy like that, I'd be trying my darndest to find cover for 1 week, particularly when you look at the other stuff going on. So if you've got a Gawn as well, there's already too much to deal with to be trading both.
Yeah, I think I agree. Well, Jake, with obviously Heeney out, you'd be holding him and trading a Sexton and playing a rookie for the week, essentially because Sexton's scoring like a rookie anyway, right? So would you be just moving him on instead and trade and holding Heeney, or is there a world where you could hold a Sexton for 1 week, try and trade Heeney? It's like a Dylan Moore, or if they didn't have a Caldwell or something, and be aggressive that way. Sort of, where do you land with that?
No, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be trading Heeney and holding Sexton. There's no circumstance I'd be playing that card. I'm trying to work it out pre-round. I'm so filthy about the Gawn news, to be perfectly honest, and I was looking forward to having Heeney miss for the week because I was going to be running my 23rd premium anyway, and then I was thinking I'll just loop Sexton and a rookie for a week, or whoever I wanted to. My trades were initially going to be Revel and Fraser to Matt Kennedy and Sean Manor, which was almost a double upgrade, if you wanted to call it that, I think, in terms of points. And using Manor to then loop with Sexton to cover Heeney, I was stoked. Unfortunately, trading Gawn doesn't give me the capability to do that. So, yeah, I think you've got to try and run a loop. Hopefully, people still have a Revel. I think with the soft West Coast matchup, he could do a job this week. Billy Dowling, there's every chance that he could put up a half-decent score. I think there's... the St Kilda matchup's not poor for that one. So the challenge is, who are you going to loop with Heeney being the guy on field because they plays the second game? So that's where Sean Manor comes in and really looks after you. So, yeah, I don't think there's any world you trade Heeney. I just can't see it benefiting you in the long run, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And Tim, your thoughts on the Heeney trade? I guess, obviously, to Jake's point, that last point there, if someone was at the top 100 and they got rid of a Sexton already, they got rid of a few of these guys, and their team is essentially like they're happy with everything. Is there a 1 week play trading Heeney out, or are you still thinking that you got to try and like bring in a Manor at least and try and loop?
Okay, so once again, disclaimer: I haven't done a lot of thinking about it so far this week, but my initial thought would have actually been to trade him out. I would have thought at this part of the season, we'd be trying to maximise points on field, like whether we'd be looking at a Jackson enabling us, to once again do an upgrade with Sexton, or like I guess people have got a lot of people have got the Gawn issue, right? So that you got to trade out Gawn because he's obviously out for 3 weeks or something like that. So look, I think what
question for you,
if you haven't got Gawn, yeah.
Like, which forward do you trust to score more than Revel against West Coast Eagles, as an example? That's what I asked myself. In any other line, I agree with you, but I just don't trust any forward to genuinely outscore my rookie.
If you didn't have Caldwell or you didn't have Zorko, maybe.
Then you make the trade. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Look, you don't trust any of them, right? But I don't think it's a matter of trust. I think it's a matter of we're going for it at this time of the year, So, we've been talking about Colby McKerchers. We've been talking about, Connor Rosies. We've been talking about, Jesus, I'm just trying to think who else.
Josh Simpkin.
Zach Fishers, if he's back, right? I don't really like Josh Simpkin this week, obviously, because Wardlaw's back. But Jackson with Darcy out, I know it's a 1 week play, but and look, I certainly think there are going to be people that the Manor loophole is going to be a good play, particularly if you've got Gawn. But if you haven't got Gawn, my first instinct is to trade Heeney.
Well, at the very least, Guesty, what you could do is, and what everyone will do, if you do have a Manor or a Harvey Harrison, you could have a look on the Friday and make your decision on the Saturday, and you could decide what your line is, what that player needs to score. Because a lot of people might commit to holding Heeney and cop a pretty average score. Then you know what you're up against in terms of, if Harrison drops a 50, Manor drops a 50, then you could go and attack that Heeney trade, knowing you just need to find someone that scores more than 50 and you win it. So, as I said before, if it was the midfield, it was the back line, I'd go shopping. But forward line, I'm more keen to sit still. But we'll see. It's only Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. Still a few days and up. This might almost be a good week to have no Thursday, not have a Friday night, because you get that extra day to think about it. Absolutely. And then at least a lot of us have got these rookies that play on the Friday.
Well, we're all going to be watching where the rookies are named on Thursday night, because if they're on the bench, you just can't take that chance with the sub. So it's getting curly. It's getting curly, boys. I reckon we've been pretty fortunate for most of this year. I know everyone's copped various injuries and whatnot, but I can't remember a round like this. You think about those poor buggers who brought in Rankin this week and have Heeney and have Gawn. This is where we're getting tested, boys. This is where the
Sexton, if he's dropped.
Yeah. If he's not, though, can I just bring up Sexton? Because I'm hearing a lot of we must trade him out sort of talk. I don't know what everyone's so worried about. He had a crap score, of course, but his role hasn't really changed that much. in 3 weeks that Power's been in. It's been a very similar role the whole time. He scored 270s. Now he's scored a 50, which is obviously awful. And look, if there were no issues, he's the guy I'm trading out. So I'm not saying keep him, but if you're stuck with Sexton because of these other issues, I wouldn't panic too much. He could easily drop another 75 this week. If he gets dropped and we have a look at Buderick or someone comes in, different conversation.
Yeah, and I was actually gonna say the SA say that now, because with Sexton, I've got Will Power, who absolutely stunk it up this week, and with Gawn out, I was going to be getting rid of Powell and Sexton, whereas now I can only get rid of one. And I'm thinking, well, do I go a Will Power to a Tom Stewart, who's got a midfield role and a great matchup, or do I go a Sexton to a Dylan Moore? And I'm looking at it, well, Will Power in a defensive line where there are players, like a plethora of players going over 100, 110 plus. And if Tom Stewart, good matchup midfield, goes 110 and Power gets a 50 or 60 against Port, which could very well happen, compared to a Sexton who, that was his only score below, 70 odd for the last sort of playing in this role. And if he gets a 60 or 70, Dylan Moore plays, he gets an 80. You're not actually gaining too much, even though you want Dylan Moore for longer. So that's probably sort of where I'm sort of leaning there. But yeah, Jake.
It's something that I've just been thinking about, and I think this is the thing, right? Until Thursday, until the game, we're not going to know. But with Took Miller out, do they look at Bailey Humphrey? We saw him a few CBAs. He comes into the CBAs. They need a small forward again. Does Sexton get thrown forward? Is there a world he doesn't get dropped, but he goes back to that old Sexton role, which we saw in the Doggies game earlier in the year? We saw that switch before he got dropped. There was that need middle of the game to make a change, and that's exactly what they did. And that scares me almost more than anything else. And look, at the end of the day, we can all speculate what we will. Dimmer said he's going to make changes. Will we be privy to what those are? Probably not. But it's certainly one that I'd feel more comfortable moving on if I can. But if it has to hold, that he's highly owned, and there's a lot of people in the same boat. So you just can't.
I reckon the really smart coaches jumped off the week Will Power came in. Because, he scored a couple of 70s and a 50, but now we're all scurrying to get him out, and now we've got other issues to deal with. So anyone who did that a few weeks ago, kudos.
Yep, exactly right. Beautiful. All right, we'll get to some questions here. We've chatted about the two big issues, so I'm sure we'll get to a few questions here. So if you are watching live on YouTube or Twitter, then put in your questions in below, and we'll get to answer as many as we can before we end up. And then if you're listening back to the replay...
Oh, sorry, Baz. I just saw the Rankin suspension has been upheld, so that is 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Should have got off. No, I'm joking. No, he's definitely suspended. But yeah, and if you are listening to the replay of this and have questions as well, then make sure you do leave them in the chat or go to Ask Me on Q, spelt q.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. Link is in the description of the podcast and the video. So let's go to the first one from Tim, not Guesty, another Tim. Says, who else here is in the Gawn and Heeney 7 stages of grief club? Well, I think we at least 90% of us are. So, yeah, pretty much everyone. Next question is from Sean. He said, Jake, which forward would you trade Sexton to this week out of Dylan Moore, Mason Wood, who I've been seeing a few people mentioning in a few group chats, Zach Fisher, Matt Kennedy, and Brian Myers. So who are you picking out of those guys?
Well, I can give a nice rating here. I brought in Brian Myers last week. Bit of a tough watch, that one, when it was him or Dylan Moore, which were the two options. But Dylan Moore, less fantasy-friendly run moving forward, whereas Brian Myers with a more fantasy-friendly run. So I think less people would be keen to jump on Grind this week, but I still think he may be the better long-term play. Anyone that listens to HatChat knows my opinion of Zach Fisher. Don't be bringing him in. Don't be tempted. Colby McKerch is back. He's a 70s guy. Don't be trapped to what you've seen in the past. That's my opinion on Fisher. I actually have Kennedy and Mason Wood rated 1 and 2, though. The order, slightly undecided. I think Mason Wood, a little bit more forward time this week, and with that lack of tall options, I think we'll see a little bit more of that. But he's shown a consistency as this mid-90s kind of wing player, which absolutely will get it done as a top 6 forward for the remainder of our season. So I think there's a lot of upside there pending what St Kilda need to do with their side. Don't be fooled by his average. He has an injured 11 as well in his pricing. So I think it says he's averaging mid-80s. He's actually averaging 92, I believe, without the injury. So clearly a top 6 forward based on that. Matt Kennedy's current form is like no other. So I've got Matt Kennedy coming in at the moment if I can make my trades work. So I have to rate him number 1. But I think Mason Wood a pretty close second. And don't get stuck into Dylan Moore. I think there's definitely a chance that his run is slightly less kind for the remainder of the year.
We've got to remember with Dylan Moore as well, he has just played Geelong and who was it week before? So it wasn't North Melbourne, was it? Or something like that. It was another West Coast. So it's like they've had two really good matchups in the last two. Freo, I could see Freo, like they haven't possessed it a lot, but I could see them doing something like that a bit more to stop Hawthorn's sort of forward ball movement. So that's, definite flag there. I think Dylan Moore's a great target for at least the last 2 weeks, though, because he's got like North and Richmond or whatever. So
yeah,
a few good options there.
His only ton in the 8 weeks prior to that was when he kicked 5 against the Crows. So let's not get 2 points chasey on that one. I think it's still a good option considering we still don't have a guaranteed lock, but I think those other two guys give a bit more value and a bit more uniqueness as well.
Yeah, exactly. Next one is from Gareth Evans Jordox. He says current trades is Gawn to English and Rankin to Dylan Moore. Would you suggest any changes there, or do you think that they're good trades?
No, I'd back yourself in on that one. I mean, Moore, Jake was just talking about how his run is probably going to dry up, but I think he's pretty safe. I had him earlier in the year and I got impatient and traded him out in his buy, Dylan Moore, that is, and he's, I think, scored several tons since. So it's been pretty frustrating to see that. But is there anyone better than Moore? Oh, I think Jake sort of nailed it with those cheaper options. Matt Kennedy, again, someone I owned earlier this year, and it was just that round 12 game. He scored 36, and there was just no explanation for it. He, was a little bit more forward that night or day, whatever it was, but yeah, playing a fairly similar role to what he's playing now. So he terrifies me, even with 3 tons in a row. He terrifies me because the way Carlton use him, it's kind of similar to George Hewitt, who has just been the sub last week and out of the side. So, yeah, I'd be nervous about Kennedy, whereas, Dylan Moore, pretty safe, I would have thought.
Yeah. Say's got this question. He's not an option. I just thought I'd mention, though. He said thoughts on Mills as an option. I know that we're all saying, no, you got to wait, you got to watch. It could be subbed out. They did that, I think, last year, come back for an injury. But I would say draft coaches, check your waiver wise. He's obviously at the bottom because he's averaging 0. So, make sure he's not on the waivers. And if he is, pick him up because, he should still score pretty solid than probably what you've got on your bench.
But why not? Why not this week, Bales? I mean, I know the obvious answer, but let's flesh it out.
Yeah,
why not have a crack at it?
Well, we've got
if Heeney's out.
Yeah, I get if Heeney's out, but I think Adams is probably going to pick up that bulk of CBAs because he's been in the team longer. We don't know what role Mills is going to play. Is he going to play forward? Is he going to play back? Is he going to play on a wing? Is he going to sort of roam around? Is he going to play midfield? We don't know. I think he came back last year from an injury and he got subbed out early in like the third quarter. I believe it might have been against West Coast in that really, really big win last year. So, I just think it's $7.59. If you don't have a Rosie, $15K more. It's a no-brainer. You got to go Rosie, and then you got a few options around there as well. I think you probably prefer to go to.
I agree with everything you're saying, but that is the sort of pick, that high risk, high reward. That if he comes in and smashes it, and we're all chasing him next week, you're 1 week ahead. But to have a crack first game in, I'd like his price to be a little cheaper than that.
Yeah, agreed. I'll go back-to-back questions for Jake here. And Alfred Jones has got this one, and you'll probably know why I'm going to you for this one. Gawn to De Koning and Sexton to Dunkley. Thoughts on those moves?
I thought it was going to be Golden, just to throw a bit of shade my way, but it was actually my boy. This morning, I would have said lock that in, absolute no-brainer. Like you couldn't not. The Tom De Koning test just has that little bit of a flag around it. To kind of have that come out midweek, he obviously missed the week prior. There's just a little bit of what's actually going on. What do we not know in that environment? And I think we all talk about not wasting trades in the ruck line. And, if you trade Gawn to De Koning this week and then you've got to move him again next week because he's injured or something like that happens, that absolutely concerns me as well. So it's a bit of risk there. I'm not worried about his scoring. If he's named, you've got to trust the doctors to say that he's fit enough to play. And those two are definitely, they're upgrades because he was playing over Gawn. But I think his form's been better than Gawn's as well. His run's great, and Dunkley's has been fantastic as well. So, yeah, if you trust the tests, back it in, I think.
Well, if they didn't want to get to Koning, could you go a Meek or even a Kieran Briggs if that gets Dunkley, or are you still you'd prefer one of those guys like an English, like a Nank, like a Cherry, someone like that, and maybe get a guy a little bit lower, sort of in the 850 somewhere around, maybe around there.
He might not like me spoiling this. Sanchez got Lloyd Meek coming in right now, based on our group chat, and that's based on the Hawks run, best in the comp for the remainder of the year. I still don't think he's got. I know we've seen that he's had a couple of big scores, but he just doesn't have the ceiling or the consistency with the other guys. And I think even though the run is tasty, I still think he's probably not within 15 to 20 points of those other guys. And with 7 rounds to go, that's still 100 odd points for the rest of the year. So I couldn't. But Sanchez is on just as much of a heater as me, and as a Hawks man, he's backing it in. So
Love it.
There's some kind of love there, I suppose.
Yeah. And then the other question I was going to ask you as well, Free Kick Lima's put in the chat as well, Jake. I need to know, what are Jake's thoughts on bringing in Willem Drew this week?
Yeah, look, I mean, we're not bringing him in. For those wondering, Free Kick Liam, when I asked on the pod last week for the HatChat boys to be compared to AFL players, he said I'm like Willem Drew. He said I'm the clear 4th in line on talent, but the coach clearly likes him, and he's having his best season so far. So appreciate the love, mate. Willem Drew had another good game on the weekend, but yeah, don't bring him into your fantasy sides. He'll flop sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Tony Ford's got this question. Tim, he says, do you trade Heeney if your only other problem is Gawn? Was thinking Gawn to English and Heeney to more, with the idea of trading Myers to Heeney the following round. That's obviously what you're alluding to a tiny bit before.
Yeah, look, I mean, I once again, I kind of think that's not a bad move. I mean, particularly like a Dylan Moore, and look, maybe not necessarily him, but there's other options there. I mean, we talked about Matt Kennedy before. We talked about, we've thrown a number of names around, right? So, I mean, they could potentially be top 6 for the rest of the year. So it's not like you're bringing in a one-week wonder, and then, look, make the move to pivot back to Heeney next week. I mean, look, it may not go right, but it might go right too, and you just never know what's going to happen next week. I mean, there could be a whole bunch of other carnage we've got to deal with next week as well.
Yeah, no, good point. Corey Badger's got here, I'm a fade Gawn owner, so don't need to worry. So we're gonna see all the non-Gawn owners coming out of the woodwork. They're gonna be saying, I don't need to deal with that. So there you go. To be fair, I know Corey's had a bit of bad luck this season, so that's good for him. Joe Wilmer's got this question, Jordox, what is a more important trade, Sarong to Dunkley or Sexton to Zorko? I actually reading that now. It's probably pretty obvious.
Yeah, Sexton does all.
But, well, in saying that, though, thoughts on, for those owners, let's say they don't have Gawn, maybe they've probably got Heeney, maybe, but they might be holding. What are your thoughts on Sarong, like sort of, is he a potential trade out if someone didn't have as much carnage as what they did, or maybe next week is a watch to see what he does this week?
I think we've got enough info to make a call on what he is this year, and he's just a low ton guy. I think we just need to face the facts there. So if you could turn him into a Dunkley, then, and it suits your side, and you don't have a Sexton hanging around, I reckon you do it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely good.
Because he's 23, so wrong. Like, I just think he'll put together a season in time that will make us all want him in our sides. I just don't think he's there yet. He's close, but don't know what it is. Freo fans will know more than me whether it's Fife is in there or if it's because Brayshaw or Young came in there. I don't know. There's just a bit of a mix. So not sure where it is. Not copping tags, not coping with them very well because he's young. It's a number of things. So
yeah, which is surprising because at the start in the preseason, we were hearing out of Freo, this guy's being double tagged and stuff in practice games and sessions and stuff, and he's going well. Whereas at the moment, like Jack Graham, who hasn't tagged all year, comes in and puts a little bit of pressure on him. But it wasn't the touches; it's just the marks and tackles for Sarong that aren't there. Like I remember watching the game against Collingwood, he had 11, and he just tackled everything that moved that game. Whereas sort of since then, I haven't seen that same sort of furiosity when it comes to trying to get tackles. But it is interesting. So,
season, just getting the better of him. Maybe that's
yeah,
maybe
potentially.
his first
Yeah.
season as the number one guy there. Obviously, Brayshaw's had that up until now, and maybe he's just feeling the pinch. And to be clear, while I don't disagree that it's a clear Sexton to Zorko, believe it or not, that trade would be 40 points less. It's hurt you 40 points less than Sarong to Dunkley if you'd made that trade 2 weeks ago. So Dunks has scored 40 more points if you'd made that trade versus Sexton to Zorko. Which seems crazy on paper, right?
On paper, it's a pretty clear answer, but you're right. The reality is, Zorko is starting to slow down a lot. So, but no, Sexton's a liability. Everything we said earlier.
Yeah. Paulie29's got this question, Jake. He said a bit sort of what we were saying before, but do I go Tom de Koning if it means going Sexton to Caldwell, so it doesn't have Caldwell there, or would you go a more expensive guy? So I'll just say Tim English being the cheaper guy because I know that you'd be able to get to him and going Dylan Moore. So English and Moore or Caldwell and Tom de Koning?
Can't miss Caldwell. Potential F1 for the rest of the year. Get him while you still can.
Yeah, no, well said there. He's a very good option. Liam J. Tim, thoughts on Heeney to Luke Jackson as a 1 week play with Darcy out? So again, you were talking about the Heeney 1 week play. Luke Jackson as a 1 week play against Hawthorn.
Still, look, I don't I don't mind it, but I don't like it as much as like a Matt Kennedy or a Dylan Moore type of trade. Only because with Luke Jackson, Sean Darcy's back next week and he goes back to scoring 60s or 70s, right? Whereas, with those other players, I guess there's not going to be a change in role. So, chances are they might score better.
Yeah. Bailey Miller's got this question. Trade Sexton and bank cash or trade Kruger and bank cash? Well, I'll take this one here, saying as you are my namesake there. I'll be trading Sexton because I'm sure you can go to another option there. And Kruger, you can always loop. He's a ruck forward, so potentially a loop in the ruck or in the forward line. So, and he plays Friday, so I'd be holding him for the week. And then I think that I haven't heard anything about Darcy Cameron, but he should be fine, I'm imagining. He might be a test on the injury report. I haven't actually checked the Collingwood injury report, but he sounds like he'd probably be okay this week. So we'll have to see there.
He's not even on. So
yeah, so there you go. Yeah, I didn't think he was. Yeah, cool. I like this question. So here we go. Here's one that's not involving Heeney or Gawn. I like this one. So AFL Fantasy, and then a lot of different letters and stuff. I can't even bother reading them all out. Jordox, Stewart or Sheasel?
Stewart?
Obviously, big price difference.
Yeah. These are hard to answer because you need to know what's happening with the other trade. But, instant answer would be Sheasel. Bloody Tom Stewart. He's a menace. He is a menace because he looks so good in this role. But why didn't they do it in round one like they kind of promised in pre-season?
Yeah, and well, do you think this midfield role will stick? Because I sort of think it will because they've won the last 2 games to be in the midfield. Zach Tui's moved back there now. They clearly weren't getting it done with the younger guys in the midfield, so they've put a bit of experience in there. So do you think that this will stick for Stewart? I do, because it hasn't come out of the blue. It's kind of like Rivers at Melbourne. Mentioned it, yeah. He was in a little bit of midfield training in pre-season. Didn't happen. Now they've got the injuries. It's happening. Tom Stewart had a little bit of this in pre-season that caught a few of us by surprise, but got our interest, and it just never eventuated. Now we're towards the end of the year. The younger guys are getting tired. Tanner Bruin's out injured. Dangerfield is in and out and, clearly can't carry them anymore. And Stewart's still fairly, not young, but his body's still young because he didn't start playing until later in life. So he's going to be able to play well into his 30s. And, yeah, it's working. I can't see why they change it. The only thing is, if they did change it and he went back to his regular intercepting role and, was racking it up, if someone throws a tag on him now, they can at least move him into the midfield. So they've got options. So maybe I've talked myself into Stewart again instead of Sheasel. I don't know. Sheasel's just, I don't know what he's priced at. But yeah, it's a tricky one because you're either going to get a bargain or you're going to get one of the absolute top defenders.
He's only 9.20, Sheasel. It's not a bad price,
Yeah.
to be fair.
Well, Geelong got a good run for the rest of the year. They got Collingwood, Western Bulldogs, North Melbourne, Adelaide, Freo, St Kilda, and West Coast. So very good run to finish the year. The only thing I'd flag on Sheasel potentially this week, well, probably two things, is one, last week was his only score over 120. So like he hasn't shown that same thing before last week. And Sydney this week, I just have a feeling that Jordan might go to him. I know that Jordan playing a half forward and Sheasel's playing on the other side as a forward, but I don't know. I just feel like Sheasel's the guy that gets him ticking there, but maybe he just goes to LDU and tries to stop that. So, and Sheasel,
God, I hope so. Oh, I hope so. After trading him out this week to Sarong and losing points, I really hope LDU goes back to that dilly-daddling, and a bit of a tag probably puts him there, to be honest. So.
Yeah,
no thanks. No thanks from the LDU owners.
We've got a lot of LDU owners on the panel tonight.
Is it LD fuck you or LD?
No, I'm glad you
LD.
asked, Guesty. It's LDU Beauty. I thought of
All
that
right.
yesterday. I have to say that.
There's been a lot,
anyway.
a lot of them. So Simon Stacks has got this one, Tim. He said, hey, gents, if we don't have Gawn, can we trade Heeney to... Oh, that's the same one before. Can we trade back to Jackson? So, yep, we said that one before. What do we got this one? Johnny Test, can we get a quick best 22 call from you guys? That'll probably take way too long, so I might do another video personally or listen to other podcasts and see what people are doing with the best 22.
Hey, one thing we did say we were going to do was an update on the Content Creators Cup. And
okay. Yep.
I didn't actually realize
Tim.
this. I didn't realize this at the time, mate. But we managed to dodge you having to tell everyone that you lost on the weekend.
Oh no, I didn't dodge it. I did say in the podcast I lost.
Oh, did you? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, Luke had a belter, and that was with Toot being subbed. So
yeah. Jeez, yeah. Only realised that when I was looking at it today.
And the thing that made it worse was the fact I was, and Jake knows this well, I put the question in the HatChat live last week. I was keen on bringing Brayshaw in, and I got ruined when Fisher was out. Bloody that Fisher, that idiot. Twice he screwed my season over, and I could have had, don't get me wrong, got Dunkley, but I could have had Brayshaw and looked like a genius. But unfortunately, I had to watch Luke get him.
Yeah, cool, mate. Well, look, I'm just going to do a quick top 8 on the overall and on the season ladder. So season ladder, Mitch is at the top, a game clear. Bales, you're second, but then you are 3 games clear of third place, which is Roy.
Yeah. So the good thing is Roy lost, which means that I've locked the top 2 spots. So there we go. And then funny enough, and Mitch lost as well. So the top 3 all lost this week.
How about that, mate? So then we got Luke from Ball Boys 4th, Jepper 5th, Mini Monk 6th, Warn Dogs 7th, and DC Caterpillars in 8th. But then if we look at the overall, so Mitch is 15, Destroy 112, Bales 845, Jake, mate, inside the top 1,000 there, 877, Ritz 1314.
How many
9 points, Bales. 9 points, Bales. I've been waiting all of this. I'm coming.
He's coming for you, mate. Stato in 7th, still inside the top 2,000, and then DC Caterpillars as well inside the top 2,000. So, yeah, our top 9 inside the top 2,000. What's that? Top 13 inside the top 5,000. And then, yeah, we've got more than ever outside the top 10,000. We've got Calvinator, Louis, MJ, John Harmey, and Mini Monk outside. With Mini Monk sitting the worst of us all.
Guesty, can I have a word? Who does the fixturing? I need to have a word. Who does this fixturing? Because I'm sitting 11th and I'm 4th overall, and Mini Monk 6th with his 15,000 rank. What is going on here? I need to have a word.
I have no idea, mate. No idea. It's a mystery, just like the AFL fixturing.
Oh dear, I've got to have a win this week and then knock Sanch in the final round before finals to try and sneak my way in and use my hot form and have a doggies run to take on the top 8 there, boys.
Well, someone might have a crack. Someone might have a crack at Mitch because obviously he's going to be aiming real high with his overall. So someone focusing on a league win. Yeah, someone might be able to steal the league win.
Yeah, exactly. And just to shout out as well, we obviously mentioned with MJ with the top scorer in the league with the 25-25, but 23rd for the week, if you don't mind. So massive week by MJ. And as
MJ,
he said to me,
23, it's a good combination.
Yep, exactly. Got a couple of super chats here as well. So Johnny Tess has got the first one. So fantasy aside, who are we tipping to finish top 4? So we'll just do a quick one here. Jake, go you first, mate. Who you got top 4?
Oh, the doggies' premiership window might have finally closed after we've been getting top 4 of these power rankings for weeks. I still think Port's too inconsistent to slide their way in. I kind of think it sits how it looks at the moment. Swans have too much of a lead to drop out, but their form hasn't been great. I think the Blues are the best team in the competition at the moment. And Freo and the Bombers kind of proved themselves on the weekend. I still think Geelong are pretenders. They keep proving me wrong. But, I think the top 4 as it stands, I don't know that they quite have enough time to close the gap, but I think the Blues probably deserve top spot, if I'm honest.
Yeah, Jordox?
Yeah, I haven't really looked that much. All I know is it's just so widespread. Like it's so open this year. It's one of the most open seasons we've had. So having a quick look at the ladder, I mean, you got Collingwood in 9th. I mean, I could see them finishing top 4 still. So, yeah, I don't really have any predictions, but
I don't mind the look of Brizzy either.
Yeah, they're coming hard as well. So, but I agree about Geelong and Port. Looks like the Giants are just going. I'm not sure. Not the Crows.
Tim?
Yeah, look, I mean, Sydney and Carlton, I think are definitely locked in. Freo and Essendon, I just don't trust. I do agree that Geelong and Port are pretenders, but, once again, it wouldn't surprise me to see Brisbane and Collingwood in the top 4 also.
Yeah. I'd probably have as well. I agree with probably the top 4 now. I still think Port could slide their way in there because we see it every year, right? Port finish top 4, and then they go on to probably lose a couple of finals, and then Hinkley will stay, and then the cycle will go all around again. So, but then I do think Giants could potentially, they can still turn this around. I still like their squad, and with Cogs getting a few games more under his belt, then maybe they might make a charge. But I think the 4 probably now, I'd agree with that as well. And then Tim Ashworth was just saying as well, those trades that he said with his super chat before leaves him with 271K. So that the trades obviously being Fraser, Manor and Sexton to Rosie. Jake, are you sort of happy to take the haircut on Rosie there and have that much cash in the bank to upgrade a Tom Power the week after? Or if you still got that money, are you maybe targeting a guy up in the high 900s like a Dunkley if Tim doesn't have him?
Oh, it's a bit hard. I start liking to go top 8 guys at this time of year, although Rosie showed on the weekend that he is still that bloke. I don't know if anyone realised or if there was much communication about it, but we were stat counting in the first quarter, and he was 1 disposal off the record for disposals in a quarter, Rosie was. He had 18 disposals in the first quarter, which was just absolutely incredible. I think he's just as likely to be top 8 as anyone else. So enjoy the cash that you're going to keep by getting him and grab him. Someone that you haven't mentioned tonight, I don't know how much talk there has been about this week. I do like Sean Manor because of the game he's playing in. But have you guys had any chat about Matthias Philippou? Has anyone seen what happened on the weekend with the poo?
No, I did.
What was it, a 120 something?
Yeah, a big score, and he's just over 400. So
just over 400. He's gone back to the 2, saying he wants to play full-time midfield after playing forward throughout the whole preseason and the start of the year. So really low scores, really lowly priced, and then has come in and done exactly that. CBAs. Windy injured, 3rd in the CBAs, 400K. The role looks secured. I think he had 26 touches, 5 marks, 5 tackles. Filled all the stat lines.
The Swans, no less.
Against the
Incredible.
Swans. So,
he's got junior numbers as well.
Yeah, we knew he was a high scorer coming in. I wonder, I like the Manor play, but depending who else you can loop with, I've got Conan Brown, who plays a bit of a later game. I kind of might even prefer you taking the jump to Philippou instead of Manor if you've got the leftover cash. I think that's something people need to be considering, depending what their cash situation is like, because he could easily be your faux 23rd premium, if you will, and sit on your bench and make you some cash over the next month.
Yeah. Chris has got this question, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing what you boys think, because this is sort of what a boat that I'm in. Will Power to McKercher or Sexton to Matt Kennedy, Jordox? And obviously, Chris, I'll firstly say I apologise because I was the one that probably mentioned the Will Power thing, and that has that call of him over Tom Schutt's going to haunt me now for a fair few weeks, I think. But Jordox, Power to McKercher or Sexton to Kennedy? Where are you leaning?
Power to McKercher. Yeah, I just love what McKerch is doing. I know Fisher coming back might. We're not going to see 123 from him every week, but geez, he looked good. And yeah, I'm a little bit biased because I had Matt Kennedy and he really hurt me earlier in the year with his scoring, not emotionally. A little bit emotional. But for me, I'm powder McKercher. But yeah, what do you reckon? What do you reckon, Jake? Because you're looking at Candy, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I'm looking at Kennedy because I've sold my back six. I would say you'd probably safely say that Powell and Sexton will put up a comparable score this week. So look at it purely subjectively. Do you think McKercher or Kennedy will score more? And base it purely on the in for this week in particular. So who do you trust more? I probably lean to McKercher as well, to be honest. But yeah, it's going to be who do you think is going to score more this week, because Powell and Sexton, I don't think anyone can say with confidence there's going to be any discrepancy in their scoring.
Yeah. And I'd sort of lean that as well. And obviously that decision could be made for us, Chris, because Sexton, who knows, if he gets dropped, then obviously you go him to Kennedy. But Tim, I'll put sort of my spin on it. Will Power to Tom Stewart or Sexton to Dylan Moore? Where are you going there?
I think willpower to Tom Stewart. I think it's the differentials between what other people are going to be scoring in that line is more what I'm looking at.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. And that's why I was thinking Stewart, having willpower 60s and 70s there when other people got Sheasel's 134 and even Nasir and Sinclair hundreds and all that. So yeah, I think that defensive upgrade is the one, because I was talking this with my mate as well. Even just with this whole Sexton thing, and a few people might be doing this with like a Clayton Oliver or so in a different position, right? Is in the forward line, Sexton could score. Like, who's to say that Dylan Moore doesn't go sub 80 this week? Like, he's shown it before these two big games, and you go Sexton, you might lose a few points if Sexton's names, whereas Powell might be struggling again, whereas you're getting all these other defenders going well. So I'm sort of leaning that name way as well, but decision could be made for us if Sexton is dropped. Jason's got this question, Jordox. So obviously just thoughts on Luke Jackson as that 1 week pub. So you mentioned him a couple of times throughout here, but your thoughts on Jackson as that 1 week play?
Yeah, no, I like it. It's what I was looking at doing. Probably before the Heeney news. I've got to have a real good think now. But I like Jackson because, yeah, it's a 1 week play. But when you do a 1 week play or a short-term thing like that, you've got to be prepared to hold that player beyond that time, because we don't know what's around the corner, as we've seen this week with the issues. But I don't think Luke Jackson at F6 is the worst thing in the world for the run home. I traded him a few weeks ago after he dropped a dirty 39. But apart from that, even with Darcy, he's been putting up some all right scores. They've got an all right fixture. It's actually funny. I was looking at the fixture before, and they've got West Coast in a couple of weeks. Now, if you remember last time Darcy came back in, it was as they were about to play West Coast. So a lot of people held Jackson thinking, oh, they're playing West Coast. And what happened? West Coast smashed them. So that didn't work out. But I like Jackson. I think his scoring is going to be okay with Darcy. And look, I didn't see the incident with Darcy, but the guy is just always in and out. I wouldn't be surprised if his concussion...
Head hit the ground.
Yeah,
concussion.
And that's coming from a long way up. The bigger they are, the bigger they fall, as they say. So who knows? That could be 2 weeks concussion. We don't know. But I like Jackson. He's under 700K, I'm pretty sure. So that was my plan for Sexton initially this week. And yeah, I'm probably still in that spot, to be honest. But
yeah, beautiful. Next question comes from I Love Warney DT. Well, there you go. Tim, he says, is Tom DeConing okay so I can get Fraser up to Luke Jackson? So I'm assuming that's probably the best he can get to. Would you tick that off with DeConing with the test and get Jackson?
Look, I think I'm the wrong person to ask this. Like I said, I'm really not looking at my ruck line just because I don't have a ruck issue. So I'm not sure. Maybe someone else would be better suited to answer this.
Yeah, we'll go to Jake for this one.
Gosh, I get all the Tom DeConing questions. That's what I get for bringing him up at the start of the show, I suppose. Look, like I said, I think you either have to back the test in. Like, I like the upgrade. I'm good with that. I think you just have to trust that the doctors are going to do the right thing and they're not going to play him if he's at risk of being subbed out. There's obviously the caution that I think needs to be played on the fact that he missed a week ago, came in for a week, is now a test again. I think there's a little bit of concern around that. So you don't want to be making any more trades in the line. But at his price.
Where's Pitternet at? He hasn't been playing, has he? So if we see him,
then he got dropped. Yeah.
So if he's named Thursday alongside De Koning, maybe there's your answer.
Yeah,
maybe don't do it.
Yep.
Go to Meek, 30, 40K cheaper and place that day as well.
Yep. Next one we'll go to is I had the question and now it's going. Oh, here we go. So from Billy here. So 7869's has got this question, Jordox. He said a little bit what you were saying about the Matt Scorn thing. You said potentially maybe not the 2 to 3. He says if you can bring in Jackson this week to cover Heeney, loop Kruger to cover Gawn, then next week get Heeney back, and if Gawn misses a second match, swing Jackson in and with Kruger to cover Gawn. What are your thoughts? Obviously, a lot of moving parts there. So,
who asked this? I want to read this.
Billy. So I can put up on the screen for you. So there we go. So to make it a bit easier there to follow.
I love it, Billy. I love it. These are the machinations that were going through my head today, thinking Heeney would stay. How can I keep Gawn when everyone else gets rid of him? So Luke, I think Luke Kruger to cover Gawn. Have a look. If you've got Kruger, absolutely have a look. Who knows what he'll pull out? It's a shame. I mean, sorry, I should say it's a shame Darcy Cameron's not injured. I didn't mean it like that. But it's a shame Kruger wasn't going to be the number 1 ruck because that would have been really handy. But I think have a look. If you've got guys on a Friday night to have a look at, have a look. And have plan A and plan B. Plan A is you're trading Gawn. Plan B is, your cover goes 75 or 80. You can look at something else. But, with the Gawn injury, let's see what the rest of the week looks like. Like I said, at the moment, I have a feeling it could be quicker than 2 to 3. We could hear murmurings in the next few days that suggest otherwise. So,
do you want him back in current form? Like, just because it's not something we've spoken about, I genuinely, if there was any way that I didn't have Sexton or one other problem, I was looking at trading Gawn anyway, because his current form, we keep talking about he's the highest averaging player in the competition. His form's not there. I just think he was genuinely on the chopping block anyway, and we're absolutely kissed by this. And I like being the devil's advocate on HatChat, and I'm the devil's advocate here. I think anyone that holds Gawn, they're costing themselves any chance they have at moving up for the rest of the year. To be honest, any coverage is not going to get even close to the likes of Nank, Marshall. You're losing 40, 50 points. Maybe Jackson for the 1 week. But then next week, if Darcy's back, then you're immediately losing points again. So
well, we did talk about this a fair bit last week on the Tuesday, I think it was, about trading a Gawn down to a De Koning, saving the coin. What can you do with it? And it was something I was looking at because I was stuck with a kid on field and no money to spend. How I got out of that with Simpkin and McKercher, I'll never know. But it's a good point. I guess, Jake, if he is back, you'd have to think he's rested and recovered and back to the old Gawn. I just think his form's dropped because he's cooked. He doesn't have a backup, and it's a long season. So, but you're right. If you're thinking about trading him out now, he's injured. I'm thinking about how can I keep him just because it's the opposite of what everyone's doing. That's the only reason. But his form had been poor.
Yeah. Tony Ford's got this question. Well, Jake, because obviously you were talking about Kenny before. Tony wants to know, what do you think Kennedy can go at for the rest of the year? If you had to put an average number, obviously Kenny's probably a hard one because who knows? Could he be sub next week? Could he be role shift? But what do you think in this current role he's in, he can average for the rest of the year?
I think what I probably look at is if we just look at his scores since, say, round 5, we've seen 1 or 2 really poor scores, like really poor scores, taking the sub performance out. We're assuming he's not going to be the sub. I think he's a 90 to 95 guy. That's probably the number that I put on it. He's obviously had a few big tons, well, not big tons, but a few tons over the past few weeks. He put up a few scores, 85, 95, 90, and then a 70 in there as well. I think that seems to be pretty consistent for him. Anything over a 90 is a win. And he's priced, I don't know if he's priced that, but I'm guessing it's around 85, low 80s. So it's an upside on his price as well as points.
Yeah. So Harry Gunn was Harry, who now it's gone again. Now the bloody chat's moving quick. Appreciate everyone putting all the chat in here. Oh, that's right. Simon Stacks had this one. He was saying about potentially a Dawson trade out. He's like questions longer, but we have touched on that sort of question. Well, I was just going to touch on Dawson quickly. He hasn't been great. He's been very, very bad, actually, away from home especially. I mentioned this on the pod on Sunday night that minus the Collingwood North game, his scores away from home have been 100 or less. So a lot of poor scores. And his run has been tough the last 3 weeks. Sydney, Giants and Brisbane. Again, shouldn't be dropping these 50s and stuff as a premium midfielder. We have seen it's a bit of a weird year, though. But the fact that Windhager is now not going to be there this week, they've then got the Bombers who went big up against early in the year, Hawthorn, Geelong, Bulldogs. I think Dawson is a hold. And plus, he's a bit cheaper anyway. And then we got a lot of other issues. But yeah, just for people looking at Dawson, I think he's probably just a hold because he could go big this week. Well, that's what I'm hoping for anyway. Well, I reckon that we might cut it there. Sort of a lot of questions, sort of similar ones that we've answered here. And obviously, we'll be live again on Friday for our pre-lockout chat at the usual time. So I reckon we'll wrap up there and just do a quick sort of round the table and see what people are looking at doing with their current trades first. So I'll go with the guest first. So Jake, early trade plans, what are you looking to do?
I've pretty well locked in Gawn to Nank at this stage. Big fan of the run, like the uniqueness, need those 9 points on new bales, and that's the way I'm planning on getting it. So don't get any good ideas. Second trade is so up in the air, it's not funny. It's a combination of Manor, Philippou, Kennedy, depending on who I trade out. It might be a Fraser. I think I'll hold Revel just for the matchup. It was initially going to be him being traded out. Of course, it might be Sexton as well. So probably Sexton or Fraser out, depending who's named. And then I could go up to a premium in Kennedy, or I might stay on that lower end and run a Manor or a Philippou and hope for a decent score to cover Heeney. So, yeah, Fraser is probably the only player that plays before my loop at this stage. So that's why Manor makes a lot of sense. But lots of things to happen between now and then. Sexton has to be named first. So let's see how we go, boys.
Yeah, exactly right. Jordox, early trade plans?
Yeah, it's there's a lot still to dissect. But at the moment,
more bullets potentially.
Yeah, possibly. But at the moment, probably gone to English and... Yeah, I really want to get a Manor in to have a look on the Friday night so I can keep Heeney. But if I get him in and he sucks, I've used my trade. So, yeah, not sure.
Yeah. Tim?
So, yeah, I'll be looking at something like a Heeney down to... I can't actually afford more anyway this week, so it might be a Kennedy or something similar like that, and that'll allow me to get to a like a Clan Oliver to a Con Rosie before he starts getting too far out of reach. I was going to ask though, gents, what do you reckon? Do you think a bigger priority is trading out a Sexton or a Clayton Oliver?
Clayton Oliver.
Good question. Yeah,
you can get a better upgrade, I think, with Oliver. You can get up to a mid. You can at least get to Rosie, I think. Whereas Sexton, you could go to a Kennedy or more, and they could score less this week.
You know the worst thing that can happen with holding Oliver is he could score a ton.
Exactly.
And he could be seduced again. I mean, a week ago, I was so close to trading Sexton ahead of Oliver. I wish I had, because Oliver's hit that ton on the Friday night. He's dropped to a 45 against West Coast. Just get out. Just get the hell out.
And they've got the Bombers this week, so I just expect Caldwell probably just to stand next to Oliver because teams probably still look at Oliver and just go, yeah, Caldwell go head to head.
They could be playing Werribee. It wouldn't matter at the minute with Clayton. I don't know what's going on there.
Shout out to any Werribee listeners.
Yeah, that was just a random team that popped in my head. No shade intended. I'm sure Werribee's a great team.
That's funny. And then my trade plans I'm looking at this week, obviously with Powell and Sexton now, I was hoping to get rid of both, but Gawn will go to, one of Cherry, Nankor, English. I'm not still undecided with that. I currently have English in the team, but could be one of the two. I've got to do a bit of looking at that. And then I'll be going Will Powell up to Tom Stewart because I think there's a more of a chance of an upgrade there. But Sexton's dropped. It'll be Sexton to a Dylan Moore probably, or even a Matt Kennedy. They're the two I've looked at. So, but beautiful. Jake, mate, thanks very much for jumping on. Good to have you back on the pod, mate. Where can the people find you across the socials and the HatChat podcast?
Thank you, mate. No, it's been great jumping on. Too much time between drinks. Apparently, too much time between me and getting to bed. But you'll find me at Dunkley's Donuts. I don't post too much, but I do reply. So definitely tweet me if you've got any questions, and I'll be more than happy to help out. Of course, you'll find our podcast at HatChat AFL and AFL Fantasy HatChat on all the streaming platforms. I'll be in Melbourne this week. So if anyone at the G or at Marvel wants to recognise someone, it won't be Nathan this time around. You might spot me having a beer at the bar.
Yeah, and for tomorrow night, I'm sure everyone listens to HatChat, mate. But we got HatChat live tomorrow night.
HatChat live, 8:30 Eastern, 8:30 Adelaide time, I should say, 9 Eastern Standard, I believe. DC will kill me if I got that one wrong. Twitter Spaces goes for about an hour, much similar to what these guys do. Ask you questions, and you'll hear the familiar voice in Bales, no doubt. You're always on with us, mate. So we appreciate your assistance on that one. It's always good fun.
Yeah, don't mind being the sub there. If I need a late call up, I'm on standby, mate. Got the boots and everything ready and the headphones.
Good lad. Cheers, mate.
Jordox, mate, where can the people find you? And anything else you want to say before we go? Obviously, I think you messaged me saying you want to quickly say something.
Excellent segue into subs. So, you can find me at Jordox 2020 on X. And for those who have been following me this year, I've been posting up the subs an hour before the game, the second they're available. And I've also been doing these AI-generated images of the mascots fighting each other, which has been very fun. But I am retiring the AI images, and I will no longer be announcing the subs. But friend of the show, Liam, his partner Eloise has created an account on X dedicated entirely to just saying the subs and late changes an hour before the bounce of each game. I'm going to join forces with them and help them run that account, and we're going to bring the subs to you an hour before the game, the moment they become available. Now, the Twitter page is called AFL Subs and Late Changes at AFL Subs, and I'll share it on my page. And the beauty is you can turn the notifications on for this page. This page will not post anything other than the subs. So you can set the notification. Your phone will buzz saying, they're the subs. Beautiful. You don't have to go looking anymore. The ironic thing is, I feel like this time next year, this will be obsolete because I think the sub's going. But for the run home this year, find that page, AFL Subs and Late Changes, subscribe and set your notifications. And if I'm honest, you're welcome.
And it's as easy as that because I've just done it while you were speaking, mate. I'm subscribed.
Exactly,
the notifications are on. Love your work. Thanks, guys.
Beauty.
Yep, I've done the exact same thing. So make sure you guys do that as well. Tim, mate, obviously, people know where they can find you, and I know I'll say it for you at Tim Guesty, mate. But anything else you want to say before we let listeners go?
I don't know if you guys brought it up at all at the beginning of the pod, but I guess sayonara and thanks to Simo for all the Eagles fans out there.
No, we didn't touch on that. Yeah, so
apparently there's a pretty bloody awkward press conference. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, that's pikey for you.
Yeah, that's to be some interesting viewing later on. Yeah. It was. Was it like most breakups where they're, and I'm doing those, air quotes, mutual?
It was, but I think the writing has been on the wall for some time, and
hell yeah.
And I think everyone in the community, in the footy community, AFL community, can appreciate what Adam Simpson's brought as a player and as a coach, and it's just time for a change. But premiership coaches don't fall off trees, so he'll find another gig somewhere, no doubt.
That's right. For our fans, we'll just stack that premiership cup along with the others.
Got to get a Freo jab in there. And you can find me at Bales DT across the socials as well. And I keep forgetting to probably say this as well. We do have a Facebook group now as well, AFL Fantasy Fanatics. So if you guys want to join, make sure you click there and I'll accept us. Just if you can, answer the questions that are there. We've had a few people that haven't answered it, but I do check to make sure you are in other groups, fantasy related, and I'll normally accept it. But if
There's
not,
a lot of
there's
a lot of bots out there.
Yes,
So
exactly.
those questions are really important. We don't want no robots.
So make sure you're answering those as well. So make sure you join that. And then, if you got any questions as well, then I did mention before, but ask me on Q, spelled QU.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. You put your screenshots of your team through there now, so you can put them in there. All your team dependent questions, trade questions, captain, vice captain questions, draft, anything you want. Then make sure you can select the categories there and get questions in. Small fee there, but it does help support the channel, and at the same time gives you back a more in-depth response of what I could give you in the comments or as an individual message. So if you'd like to hit that up, links are in the description of that in the podcast. And thank you very much for tuning in, everyone, live. And if you are listening back to the podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. They very much appreciate, and we appreciate everyone that listens back, as well as people that tune in live. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on Friday for our pre-lockout chat. Thanks, everyone. See ya.
Good luck.
See ya.
And then everyone as well, thank you for watching live on YouTube as well. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe to our channel. Let's get 100 likes on there. So just smash like, 2 seconds. And thank you very much. See ya.